right. Good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, June 21st. This is a meeting of the Architectural Review Board. I'm going to open up with calling roll of all the members that are present here tonight. We have David Riley, we have Anya Janis, we have Marian Castell, myself, Elizabeth Geiger as chairman, Alex Lopatensky, David Humphrey, vice chair, and Leslie McCauley. Our staff member here tonight is Rvu Bd. Our first agenda item is actually a conversation with our planning and zoning chairman, commissioner chairman, but we're going to keep things moving since he is not here and start with our applications. ARB 18-2022, this is Better Healthy Massage.
Well, so there is no representation for that tonight because the signage, Hungwell sign was on vacation for the amount of time that they wanted the sign produced. I have been exchanging emails back and forth, and the final proposal hasn't been made yet.
Great.
There was one that the Better Healthy Massage has produced, but it still wasn't what was talked about. There was unequal sides and things. So now he's stepped in, but that was a couple of weeks ago, and I think he has taken vacation. He's back, but he hasn't provided the final design. So,
okay, so we'll keep it on the agenda.
but that we had agreed that it would be an administrative review. The only reason I put it on the agenda was to give you an update.
Great, I'm glad that they grabbed Hungwell signs though. I think that was a recommendation. They want to make it more simple. Okay, ARB number 22. This is also old business, dairy and kitchen and bath at 1897 Boston Post Road. Last time we met with Kevin Cade of Hungwell Signs, and now owner are coming in to tell us their stance on why they did what they did, and tell us they don't like our idea, which is okay.
All right. Well, Joe, John, people get us confused all the time because they're spelled similar. Let me just indulge us for a little bit. So let's kind of hit the reset button and start from scratch. So a little history. When we first started working on this neighborhood, it was about in 2014 we made the first acquisition. It was very close to Marian Castell. There was a whole building we were knocking down, and the ARB at that time approved the new building we were putting up. It took a bit of time. But basically what we've been trying to do is gentrify the whole neighborhood and try to create another sort of community center that's away from Corbin, that's away from Noroton Heights. And so this was the third building of that we finally finished. So that was sort of the genesis of what we're trying to do. There's not much left to actually do there, but so we're sort of there at this point. So when we think about that neighborhood, though, there's certain parameters, there's certain what I would call constraints that you may or may not be aware of. But we've invested a lot in the. Oh, Steve. So we've invested a lot in the neighborhood, and we've learned a lot about the neighborhood. We also live in the neighborhood. So first of all, you have about 5 churches in that vicinity. And they're all generally stone, stucco, slate roof type buildings, structurally very, Gothic-like and big and whatnot. So everything we did, we had to kind of fit into that neighborhood and create sort of a village feel. So when we first worked on this particular building, the first 2 buildings, we tried to make them look like siblings, but not identical twins. This building, we tried to make it look more farmhouse in style, which is sort of a new thing that's been, cropping up all over the place. And again, next to the firehouse, across the street from a church that's probably, I don't know, St. Luke's, we're not members, but probably at least 150 years old. So what you do on the facade of this building really matters a lot, okay, in terms of, again, keeping with the historic nature of that neighborhood. There's also a bunch of historic homes. There's a few left on Ringsend Road. So the problem with the signage for that building is when we designed it, you could make an argument that we didn't really have enough foresight at the time, but the fascia board was only 9 inches. So 9 inches was not that accommodating for a sign. The second thing is that with respect to the retailers do not want the windows covered up. You'll see that most of the retail buildings that we have, we try not to put anything in front of the windows. Generally, like we have the perennial garden at the 3 buildings, and they're low. We have 2 trees that we put at the first 2 buildings that kind of grown a little bit, but they're starting to, cover up some of the retailers, and we may have to think about retrimming those or whatever. So you don't want to cover up any of the windows. So that's another constraint. Another constraint is, with respect, I know you guys talked about goosenecks, is that the light, if it reflects back up into the apartments, that's not good either. So that building, for the most part, there's only 2 retailers, there's only 3,600 square feet of retail, but for the most part, it's a residential building. So that's the primary use of the building. So with that, the other thing that we have done around town is we have a sign program, which we've done with Kevin Kane from Hungwell. And these are all the signs that we've done around town. And the idea with this particular type of a sign is that it doesn't jump out at you. It's not in your face, it's not flashy, it's subtle. And again, trying to stay within the constraints of that neighborhood, but we've used these signs all over town. The other thing is that the signs are, if you lose a tenant, it's pretty interchangeable. So actually, in our leases, we actually tell our tenants they have to use Hungwell signs to basically adapt to this sign program. So again, we don't have all the retail in town, that's for sure, but I think that for the most part, you guys have really liked what we've done with signs in the past. So this is, again, some of our retailers and some of the signs we've used in the past. So what we did was, given the constraints of the facade of the building, we had, and Hervé's been there, we had these boxes made out of AZAC, which are, they're not, it's not just a panel hanging down, it's actually a box that was made, that we ran electricity through it, so you could actually mount these signs on it and have light, coming around, again, the silhouette of the sign, so that, the signs essentially are electrified. This is the one that you saw, which is Darien Kitchen and Bath. In your packet, there is the Darien Kitchen and Bath sign that I think we're pretty close to approving. It wasn't approved, I don't know, but we do want to get their sign approved. They want to open like July 1. Moots is in front of the commission. There's a resolution on it. They're supposed to vote on it in the near future, but they've gone to the point of saying, we're going to allow this, we just want to vote on the final resolution. So that'll happen, but we're not asking if you're to approve that sign at this time, because I don't even know if that's the final logo or whatnot. So the boxes are made, this is what we put up, and it was, the actual size of it is 20 inches by 78, so 6.5 feet. So if you look at all the buildings across the street, they're about 6.5 feet. That's where we got the dimensions from. What you all were thinking is, well, why couldn't we have a hang down and goosenecks and have it cover up the transom window? The problem with covering up the transom window is the retailers do not want their windows covered up. They feel they pay a lot of money for rent and they want to own their window space. So goosenecks, I don't particularly have a huge problem with, but I don't think goosenecks necessarily belong on this building across the street from St. Luke's. Freights has goosenecks, okay? So this, there's plenty of goosenecks around town. We just didn't think it worked, particularly when you start covering up the transom windows. But that's what we heard from the meeting, was there was an iteration, and that's what you all had kind of, I think, designed. There was some talk about some lighting in the lawn, flashing back at the building. That probably wouldn't be so good either because of because of the residential tenants upstairs. Kevin, who's on vacation, couldn't be here, but one of the things that he suggested was if we used, well, there's 2 suggestions. One is if we use this signage that's currently there, maybe we paint the inside of the sign and the bottom of the sign black, so that it maybe blends a little better. But I do think once you put the sign on, it's gonna fade away. So that was, and it's inexpensive as paint. The other suggestion was to hire a carpenter, cut the signs down, and show one layer of brick. There's another couple, I don't know, probably at least another $2,000. And we've got quite a bit invested in it already. But that was, again, I think, in speaking with you, you felt that you wanted to see some brick, and so was another option.
Well, that's nice of you to even come with options. I know you guys are passionate about the design you came with, and it's great that you came and presented it. It was just unfortunate that you guys weren't here last time to get in on that discussion. Guys, what do you guys think about their original proposal and their passion for it and giving that a favorable report?
Well, the original was backlit, so there would be no need for external lighting.
It's backlit with silhouette lighting similar to all of these. It's exactly the same as all these.
Okay.
It's like a light box, right? And the light that comes in.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, okay.
This, like
It's a
this
light
one on
box.
Montecrista,
Yes.
this white is opaque. Nothing shines through that.
Mhm.
What shines through is the silhouette around.
Yeah,
that.
halo lily, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
So, I mean, it's not, this isn't a town with neon lights, it just doesn't fit, so.
Looks good.
I guess,
I like it.
yeah,
I
from
think
my,
it's good.
yeah, from my standpoint, given the feedback, yeah, I'd be
I
okay
think-
as well.
I think it's-
I'll take it that these are on center over the door, and these.
That's correct.
Yeah, that's it.
The number is gonna be on the door?
No, we're
Or
having a plaque
brick?
made for
A
this
plaque?
column right here, and it's gonna be
Okay.
1897.
Okay, that's
And then
good.
on the residential door, entry door, we're gonna just put a decal somewhere on that door. We still might have to put decals on these doors, just somewhere hidden that identifies the address. So,
I do have a comment about that. I hope the plaque does not get to look like a historic plaque of the date of construction of the building. I know it's a new building and it looks really good, but 1897.
That's a good point.
well, so yeah, the column as opposed to the little.
But 1897 Post Road.
Okay, well, we put the address on there, we put Post Road in there too, so. It'll match that marquee that says, landing outpost.
I think it's good. Look, residential, you kept it, it looks good. For this-
Generally okay
for
with
this
it.
style.
It's a little unfortunate it wasn't quite integrated to begin with, but I understand your reasoning now.
Right.
I don't wanna make the thing work. Again, like Liz said, I think it's great that you were able to even, come up with some renderings to come and present us, what these other things would look like, but understand that, there would be some hardship involved to, change what's already built. The one minor that I had is, would be worth trying even like a 1x2, AZEC trim around the outside because it is a box. I mean, it's gonna read as a box, unless you try to paint it black on the sides and the bottom to try to make it look like, just a hanging sign.
We would put trim on it.
Maybe embrace the fact that it is a white box and maybe just trim it to let it
Just put
read
a
little
piece
bit more
of trim
consistently
around the
with-
perimeter.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it'll look nice.
Frame,
yeah.
framing.
Yeah.
Just a thought, I mean, that'll cost a few bucks to
No,
tack it up and
this-
see
I
how it
think it'll
looks.
look actually kinda nice. Yeah.
It'll be
I mean, we're trying to keep it so that it's vintage looking to some extent, right?
That might give you a little bit of added, design. in that there.
Okay.
Okay.
Generally agree with
Thanks guys for coming back.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry to do it a second time, but it's nice to take a favorable report and just have it on a record, right?
Thank you, guys.
So
All right.
we'll work towards getting that sign for Gary and Kitchen Bath as well. You have it's in your pack. So, yeah.
So dairy and kitchen bath sign, yeah, that's favorable.
Yeah.
That's
And
good.
then
Oh, you mean for
We'll
mom?
come back with moots when we have their
Moots.
great graphics.
Okay, if Moots is the same thing, it's the exact same thing, sign, just a different logo, I'm okay with approving that digitally through planning and zoning, have them, through the staff.
Okay.
Send to them.
Put that in the thing, it'll save everybody a lot of time, so.
Put that in the
Yeah.
report.
I'll write that in the letter.
Okay,
Um,
great,
That's a good,
okay, thank
good
you.
thought.
All right, thank you.
All right, we are gonna go back to item number 2 for our meeting tonight, which is the discussion welcoming to Steve Olveni. Yes, you're up next. You're up first, Mr. Olveni.
Honestly, I can wait. I'll just pick up for the cross practice till 8:05.
Do you wanna wait for a little
I
bit?
have to hear somebody. This is
Okay, all right, I'm picking your first one, okay. All right, if you're okay, we try to keep it moving. Okay, ARB number 24 then, it's 2022, this is Gregory's Coffee at 108 Heights Road. Hi, guys.
I apologize, so I didn't know it was all, I thought it was all digital, I didn't really know we had to bring some boards.
That's
I was
okay.
submitted the packet.
Introduce yourselves, your names, and what your title
I have
is.
the new planning and zoning pointer.
My name is Yao Guo, I'm the architect, this is Gregory, he's from Gregory Coffee.
Greg, what's your last name?
Gregory Zamfotis, ZAMFOTIS.
Thanks.
Great, guys. All right, well, we've seen the drawings and gone through it a bit, but you can give us a very quick top-line summary of it, just the points that you want to hit on, and then we can discuss it.
Yeah, we're talking, I believe, about the 2 windows that are gonna be glazed. So, the way that the building is oriented, it's a pad site, freestanding building, and, the original design intent was to have it completely open, but obviously, after we went through layout discussions, we did need a back room for storage and some light prep, sinks and whatnot. So, just for everybody's comfort, we wanted to sort of maintain the look and feel of having the glass surrounding, but glazing 2 of those windows, which would sort of be protecting the view of the back room. So, it would still have the look of glass, but you should be able to see inside. So the remainder of this glass window will be open, keeping an open and airy feel of the building. But we submitted an application to have 2 of those windows sort of covered, and still has a really nice premium look and feel from the exterior. So if anybody driving and approaching into the new center, we have a really nice access and viewpoint of our storefront, but then obviously protecting so we can have that back room for ourselves and not having to worry about people looking at mops and broom handles and whatnot. So I think we submitted the spec as to what we're intending to use for that, and we're hoping.
So I have a tricky question for you as an architect. Inside the frosted glass will be equipment, right? It's kitchen and it's the service zone. If the frosted glass goes all the way down to the ground and an equipment is close to it, it's gonna create a shadow or something of that nature. Have you thought about the bottom portion, if you have like behind the frosted glass?
We're actually building, yeah, we have a wall in back of the film.
Okay, so it's a little bit like a
Yeah.
light box.
Yeah.
When it's a light box, when there's equipment, and is it more like giving light to the people inside on the upper part, or is the wall goes?
It goes all the way up.
Okay, so that's the important.
I
piece.
was gonna ask the same exact
Thank
question.
you.
Okay, so I have, just because to me frosted glass sometimes reads as bathroom, and I happen to be working on a project trying to hide all my kids' toys in my, is this frosted glass or is this a vinyl on the frosted
No,
glass?
it's a film.
It's a
that
film.
is applied to it.
I was
inside.
wondering if instead of frosted glass, we could do a darked out mirror. It'll look like it's glass on the inside. It'll read dark when you're going by glass, as long as it's dark at night or if people are having it. And I would take.
They're gonna have
Yeah.
a wall up against the glass, so you actually won't have any light from the inside filtering through. So it literally will be like.
A black box.
I like that.
Yeah, so it's basically, we're creating a room inside.
Yeah.
So from the inside, it feels like a workspace, or like a storage room. From the outside, it'll look like, I mean, we submitted the vinyl that would give that sort of look, but we're open for obviously if there's a spec that you would prefer to use to cover that glass, we're completely open.
My only concern about doing that is you're gonna have it right up against the vision glass that looks in and out of the coffee shop, so it will have a different look and feel.
So you think it would be more cohesive using the vinyl frosting?
The frosted?
As
Well,
I
far
think
as like
it's
just how
more-
it reads going down the
So I
side?
think, so for me, just because it's, just to give you an example, this is like light on the inside, right?
Yeah.
So we've got window, mirrored window, window. It reads very similar to me. I don't know, I'm not, you guys are architects, so I'm sure you've seen many different applications of vinyl on windows, so maybe you would have something to add to that. But that was just like,
Actually,
when I saw the frosted, I was like, oh, I'm literally right now having someone put mirrored vinyl in my garage.
it brings a very good question, a good point, is what happens at night behind the frosted glass? Are you guys doing an LED type thing, or is it still a little bit of brightness, or is it completely goes dark?
It's completely goes dark.
So I don't know if that's something that you guys want to have a little
Well,
glow
if you
or
use
something
that
at night.
mirror reflective,
Vinyl, it's the same,
Vinyl.
yeah.
it will pick up any light
Right.
that's outside, it could be interesting. I just, during the day, it's gonna look different. So it's either a night issue if it's frosted, or it's
A day issue.
if it's,
Yeah.
right, if it's mirrored. So I guess the question is, which is gonna
That's-
be more
Better.
noticeable, visible?
I don't know.
I think it's a personal preference at that point.
Got it.
Both are gonna not be backlit, both are,
Right.
it's really gonna be what the issue is from the front, whether it's car headlights or even sight lighting, right, reflecting off of it.
I think it's a great idea. I'm glad you brought it to the discussion. I mean, I don't know if you guys have played with that at all, but it's an interesting discussion that.
We had, I mean, just for also added context, we will be probably closed after 7 o'clock tonight, so we'll be sort of dark
Dark,
on
no
the
matter what.
inside around the time when, most times of the year where it'll be dark outside, so if that adds into the flavor at all, we're not really doing much night service these days. We close typically around 7 o'clock at night.
So you may have some reflectivity from the inside, whether it's signs inside or emergency lights, but generally speaking, you're not gonna, the box isn't gonna glow.
Yeah, so we have, like a digital menu system, so during the day, that you'll be able to view from the outside, but at night, it turns off when we're
But I
overnight.
would think you'd have some sort of, because the rest of the plaza will be very active. It
Yes.
seems like shutting it down completely at night, it wouldn't really kind of work with sort of the activity that's going on around it. It would, and this isn't commenting on the vinyl or anything, but would there be some sort of like just like evening lighting just to kind of make like the counter pop?
Yeah, I think we usually have like the nightlight
Yeah.
situation where, so if people do need to come in for service or for a delivery or something, that they know where they're going, they get to see where the light bulbs are, but I think we typically leave, 1 or 2 soft light, something, so it won't be completely
So yeah, you get a
pitch black.
sense of a place.
Yes, so it wouldn't be like completely blacked out, but at the same time, just so we all know that we won't be lit with activity in the evenings when it'll be typically dark outside.
And then in regards to the wall set behind the glass, whether it's frosted or another film, you said that's like just behind it. I mean, is it literally like up against it, or is there like 2-3 inches behind it?
No, we have it right against it.
Right
So
up
it's-
against it? So then that would negate any opportunity for doing that like low level LED or something if you wanted to give it a glow.
Yeah,
I don't know enough about commercial applications for this stuff, I mean, for.
The
for
spec you
residential
provided
stuff,
was from like a sign vendor that has
Yeah,
used that before, so.
I've seen it, and it has an opaqueness to it too, I mean, it's not sort of translucent, so it's gonna look like frosted, it looks like frosted glass.
That's my fear, is like it's gonna read different.
Like
Then a tinted mirrored on the inside is gonna like look,
Will look like spandrel glass on a commercial building.
That's
yeah,
what- I was
yeah.
thinking spandrel.
The back side of the building is wood, that's where the ivy is.
Yeah.
Is it possible to not just make this panel, the two back panels, the same fabrication as these, where you have these frosted glass, and grow ivy up?
I think that's more challenging because they already got like town approval and all that. It's the building's already.
I think
Do
that's.
wood instead of,
That's also one of the side is also a garage door that looks like a garage door. But it's not just glass. One side is glass, one side that looks like a garage.
With the ivy going there.
No,
You're saying
that's
north
on
side?
the back wall.
Oh,
Ivy
okay.
is on the back side, it's kind of, because it's like a plainish back where they wanted, the other three faces of the building all have a glass look and feel. So,
Okay, yeah, just looking at the construction.
we had honestly asked for the same thing to the landlord, because when we said early on that we needed that space, but they had already apparently had their approval to the township and the building plan, so they didn't want to have to go back and change it, they were already in the middle. Already had all their approval, so that's why we're here, trying to figure out a solution to cover those windows.
How are the mountains or millions or little dividers, how are they treated? Are they, the dividing lights, how is it built?
Sorry,
The dividing line.
The windows, the mountains, how are they treated? It's a simulated divided light, it's applied on both sides, I mean, how are you building the window?
I think it's the same window, it's just the glass is different, so it's, everything else is the same.
Right, but I
except
just
for the-
want to know how it looks like, the window itself.
Oh, the color
How
of
much relief do we get
Oh.
from, how much detail do we get on the face of the glass? Is it protruding and so it reads like a real
Yeah, like
divided light?
Yeah, like a special glass that you have this depth into it.
Okay, so it looks like a traditional window
Window, yeah.
with, okay.
Yeah.
But it's a blind type,
Yeah, it's a film that will apply onto the inside of the glass.
the lines are film, they're not expressed.
No, it's a simulated divided light, right?
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting at. What material is that divider?
Yeah,
Is it just a,
yeah.
right,
Is it
is that a
fake or is
line,
it-
or is
is it
it
veneer?
is it an element that you can touch and it has some depth to it?
Do you guys know
It's hard
that?
to tell in drawing.
Do you know what your windows are?
Oh, those windows?
Yeah, all the windows, including the frosted lights, have dividers, right?
Yes.
So what are, how are these little guys made? Same as the these section.
Oh, it looks like a garage door. It has a
reflective hairs?
Yeah, it has a.
I made a mistake. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
I mean, especially people walk behind you.
That happens. So same with the frosted.
Right. Okay. We're not touching the wood or
It's
It's
fast.
just the back, it's clear glass is frosted.
Yeah.
This is just a.
In the frosted glass,
Yeah.
are you gonna have it one panel or just gonna
I mean,
have?
this is
We're
mirrored,
gonna
so I have like a
apply white
tinted
directly
mirror.
against the
I
glass.
spec'd out, I got like a whole
One big
sample.
one or not?
No, we will apply
Dark with a bronzy
in small
kind of.
sections.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So is it
It's
actual,
built like a real window.
so it's
Yeah,
normal,
it's not-
okay.
Okay.
Oh,
It's not one big panel, that's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
one big storefront.
I mean,
that
we
just-
It's gonna be
sample.
quite nice, 'cause that whole side will be able to open up, and it's actually what's delaying the project, because they're backwatered, but they're really nice,
Underneath ground.
they're really nice doors.
We're passing along here, by the way, we're doing a side discussion of what the mirrored glass would look like
Okay.
as opposed to the frosted.
Frosted glass.
It would provide
The mirror.
some, sort of visual activity during the day because it would be reflecting its surroundings. I think at night it would just be showing lights, but Anya was suggesting something that wasn't as straight on mirror, that has a little bit of a tint to it, so it won't look as bright.
Okay. I mean, it looks like, the west elevation is adjacent to what, like a little plaza
Yeah,
area?
right,
Yeah.
So that'd be
right, that could be
actually
interesting.
nice
Yeah.
mirror there, a little bit.
Leslie had a good point though, if it's too reflective.
Is it reflective?
No,
Is it gonna kill a tree that's?
no, on the film is not reflective.
Right, but if, do you know, if you use something that was more of a mirror application than just frosted, do you know whether it would have any reflective
Yeah.
impact on landscaping? Or sidewalk?
That we don't know, I think, because
The cars.
we just heard about it tonight, but I think
And people
we would have to,
from the city.
you know, off the top of your head.
So given the mass of the buildings on the, you know, opposite, they're gonna provide quite a bit of shade, like in the afternoon, and if that's your concern. I mean, looking at the
The path
construction.
is not that wide, and the building next to
Yeah.
us is very tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the sun, you know, like a sun study on it would show that it wouldn't really have too much.
So is everyone on the board then, I'm gonna wrap this up so we can keep moving, is everyone on the board then supporting some, like, a reflective film instead, maybe a mirror?
There's one concern about, like, dates back to traffic safety committee on a different town. Reflective is distracting when there are cars going nearby. So if you see too much of your reflection, typically mirrors are not allowed within a certain amount. If they're real mirrors, they would not be allowed within a certain amount of distance from the road.
I would always say to that, that our space is like a little bit elevated when you
Is
pull
it-
in.
Is that enough?
They raised it because of like, I guess, like a flooding
Okay.
issue there. So when you're
From
driving
it
in,
from a regular car or Tahoe SUV,
it's,
Oh, yeah.
which we have a few in town.
yeah.
You would not get, like, some,
How
Yeah, it
would you
looks
say,
like
'cause it's, when you pull in, it's, you're, the top of, my line of sight, I'm looking at that, like, at the top of the brick, the stone wall. So I don't have the exact measurements, but it is raised
It looks
up.
like it's 2 feet. If I look at this, the elevation, it looks like that corner
I
glass
see, I
is
see
about
right
2
there,
feet
yeah.
up, see?
Maybe that's the.
And so you're-
yeah, and then maybe some glows or something
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yep.
All right, so that was just good point.
That's a good point. All right,
Is there,
I'm
so,
done with anything.
is there a spec that you all feel comfortable with, or is it something you just want us to resubmit with,
yeah, I don't think we know,
okay?
but it'd be nice to, if you could do the research on that and maybe find something that's more muted to that point. Also, you mentioned the night light going on there. Do you know what that is? Is that your decision, or has that already been set with Federal Realty?
We haven't finished that part of it.
You haven't finished that part? I'd be curious, I'd like to see what that is. Are you actually doing that, or?
Yeah, we could put the light on.
Yeah, could you bring that, when you resubmit, can you put that as part of your program? Because I think that, this is a marquee building for that entrance, I think that's really gonna, it's very important what's selected there for the evening. I mean, that's really what's gonna bring in the crowd here in the evening, so I would like to see that part of your resubmission.
So just so we know the detail, you, like, how many, like, what?
Where the lights are, what the lights look like, what the, what about the wattage? Riley, what do we, what the, not the
You mean
wattage,
the temperature?
what the temperature is.
Yeah.
Oh, I think like 27 to 3,000 is generally what we look for. And just, you know, the warmer side of it. Well, nowadays it's getting to where you can adjust the LED, you know, just
Yeah,
as you see fit, but
setting up the sliders over.
yeah, it's pretty easy.
Doesn't Federal Realty have a general campus type of lighting?
Yeah, they do, but I think this is different though. You're talking about your own building lighting, that's,
Are you talking the interior lighting though, right? Or is this the exterior that's shown?
I don't know, I'm wondering if it's something different than what we've seen, if there's additional lighting here that we haven't seen.
No, there's no exterior, no additional lighting for the exterior.
We're talking about interior, was what we were talking about, nothing on the outside.
I would love to see that too. I was thinking exterior, but I'd love to see interior, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it would fit with Federal's
Yeah, it would be
guidelines.
nice to put together.
To make you probably bring it forth, a whole, everything.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it should be part of Federal's, right? Okay. All right, guys,
I think that's just a clarification
yeah,
more than anything.
does that make sense? Sorry, we're kind of trailing off here.
Yeah.
But just to make sure we're super thorough, that'd be great. That way there's no questions, we're all buttoned up the next application, so you guys are done, move on, you know, there's nothing left out there.
So we'll get the film, that we, muted, mirrored film, sounds like that's what the recommendation is.
I think also though, if we could see the frosted, if we could actually get the physical samples present,
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly compare the two. So for me, the vinyl, like the frosted vinyl is not like tossed out. I mean, it's just, I think it's a valid point though, is like, there could be an alternate that works better. And we just wanna make sure everybody's happy.
So for that, and then you'd like to see the night light detail. like
Yeah,
the-
schematic, what that is.
Sure.
Sample of what the light is, pictures of them. Bring show and tell, we like show and tell. We're interactive. Okay,
Understood. All right.
awesome. All right, so we'll talk in July.
All right.
Thank you guys so much. Okay, guys, we're gonna talk to Steve Mulvaney here. We got 30 minutes. We're gonna bring you on. Yeah. You can't keep delaying. All right. Steve, do you wanna take a seat at the table with us? Since we're
I'm
gonna
gonna sit up on the other side.
Yeah, okay, great. All right. Well, so
I'm
for,
Steve Mulvaney.
Yeah.
Nice to meet everybody. I don't know what you guys do for a living or expertise, but it looks like we got some architects, some not architects. I don't like that.
builders,
It's
architects,
just-
landscapers, historians, design masters,
Cross coaches, all kinds of good stuff.
restorative.
So,
Yeah, so we would have you here because we never have a chance to really talk with P&Z. And it'd be nice to kind of get an idea of how you guys work, how you guys would like to work with us, what you expect from us, the kind of projects you're seeing and how they relate to us. We've had a couple, in the last 2 years, we've had a couple hot projects that have come through here where the line's been a little blurred of where it stops with us and where it goes with planning and zoning. And what I always say to the board here is, a lot of what goes on with traffic, lighting, even the interior of a building affects the exterior. So you can't just stop at one point. You have to look at the whole picture. So maybe you could, I don't know, tell us what you think about that, what you guys are looking for, and what you need us to be looking for.
the conclusion to the final project is that in my history of being in land use in town, which is over 10 years, nothing's got approved by P&Z without the pre-approval of ARB. So whatever you guys say at the end or at the beginning, that's what gets done. I mean, there's been examples where I said, have you shown this to ARB yet? And they've said, no, not yet, we're going to them on Tuesday. I'm like, why don't you go back to us?
And that's when you
after
say,
talk
good
to
luck, right? I've heard him say that before.
Yeah, I said, good luck. So, the overriding theme that I want you guys to take away with is that you guys have a very, very important role in the land use and what the town looks like. I mean, I've seen Marion Gestel for years, and if somebody wants to do something, if she doesn't sign off on it, it doesn't happen. But you guys get deep into the weeds in terms of colors and topo and stuff like that. I've been in the real estate business for 30 years. I don't get that deep into it. This last applicant, I think, was a pretty good example. If you think of any building that's got glass on 3 sides or glass on 4 sides, at night, when they shut off the lights, the whole building's gonna go dark, right? That's an integral spot of that. They call that building the fuel box. So inside, I bet you the cappuccino's gonna have backlighting on, and there's gonna be LEDs on their counters, and there's gonna be, like when you go to bed at night, I turn on the lights in my kitchen, just because I think the LEDs that are underneath look really cool. So, there's gonna be a bar across the street, or a restaurant across the street you can look at. You don't wanna see something that's dead black, but then also wanna have all their lights on, that's like the store's open. That's the kind of stuff that when I come home from P&Z meetings at night, that's the turn I make. I go down Heights Road, I look at it, and I stare at the thing every single night. I would have thought they would have been open later than 7 o'clock, because there's gonna be 116 apartments there. But, you guys looking at stuff like that and asking those questions, I think is really important, because that's what people do see. In terms of where the lines are, where the line's not drawn between the two, that P&Z is in charge of, height and square footage and traffic and, moving the dirt around and flooding and all that good stuff. Where the line crosses and matches up is when you use words like massing. If you say the massing of the building looks really ugly, then that is something that we would back you up on. Because I can tell an ugly building from a pretty building pretty quick. I worked in, I worked on all the projects in Brooklyn way back when, 25 years ago, and I'm really not that old. I've worked in Manhattan, on 42nd Street when they built all those buildings, in Times Square when they built, some buildings are a lot nicer than other ones, and some buildings are, cheaper and more expensive than other ones. When you see somebody put up an ugly, boxy building that's got stucco facade on the outside, I don't necessarily think we have any of those in town. There's maybe one or two, but I've seen some architectural drawings that come in that looks like a mass box, but they just stuck it there and painted windows on it. That thing's just ugly, Then I call Liz or Liz predecessor, go rough this guy up. This guy. I'm like, really? But it's a small town. I mean, my job on paper is supposed to be the umbrella over P&Z, is supposed to be umbrella over ARB, over Zoning Board of Appeals, over Environmental Protection Commission, and there's, and then I guess there's another couple too on the other. That's what it's supposed to be like. That's why I give the speech at Christmas, and thank everybody on all the commissions. But, to the extent that we can help each other out, it's great. I mean, I have really no interest in dealing with signs, zero. But prior to the last, I'm gonna say, 6 years, ARB turned down, I don't know who was on the board at the time, ARB kept turning down signs. And then they would go to ZBA and get it overturned, and then they would come in. And so ZBA came to us and said, hey, can you switch the sign regulation? So we spent 6 months doing the sign regulation, which is, at the end of the day, it was really good. We had that guy, what's his name? I forget, the outside consultant that we use all the time.
Yeah.
He's really smart, he's got like 6 PhDs. And he had pictures of every single sign. And you can look at our town and say, yes, we want that, no, we don't want that. And there's some nuances in terms of you're that far from the street, like Stop and Shop, and remember when they came out with that thing that looked like turkey, and that thing flares?
Yeah, right.
Because they're that far back from the street, they got exempt and they were allowed to put on it. There was a big to-do when they changed the sign in the old federal went away from the traffic light to the other thing. And I forget who won or who lost, but it's something that's important. I also, me personally, I've been to places like Hilton Head, where every single sign is the same exact color. They're all light brown in the background and black letters, and the entire island looks exactly the same. I personally don't like that. My friend lives in Chatham. The Dunkin' Donuts sign is like brown. And sometimes it looks good, sometimes it doesn't look good. But I leave that up to you guys. It's not, that's where you guys control the line. And there's a ton of other things that you guys, are good at what you do. And on our board, we have, I think, 0 architects. Yeah, I don't think we have any architects right now. There's an attorney, there's a realtor. I've been in the commercial real estate business for 35 years. John Seeley, who was prior to it, if you know that name, he was a great research guy, and he's just Google stuff and no answers. And he was a bond trader. He didn't know anything about real estate, but he was good at what he did. And now he does something different. So you do have all kinds of stuff. We have a guy on our board now, Adam. He's like some kind of bond trader, and he's really into it. And the other thing that's good about that I like to see is the different on P&Z, and not really talking about you guys, is the different age brackets. You have a guy who's like 80 years old, and you got a guy who's like 32 years old. One guy's got little kids that doesn't want to get stuck in traffic, and his wife does have the big Suburban with the jewelry box on top, and the other guy's got grandkids. And there's a big, because you span the spectrum, you cover everybody. That's P&Z. You guys, I'm not an architect, he is, but I can see good architecture versus bad architecture. So that's the value I think that you bring to the town, and we kind of rely on. If there's stuff that you have questions or things where you want to get more involved on, you can always say, give me a heads up, like this looks bad, or this is not, nobody on our board liked it. I did get the heads up of his signs over the building, you know, what it looked like, and I said, you figure it out, tell me what you think, and, you know, we'll back you up. You know, and everyone, there's a happy medium there someplace. The only thing that really matters, and we talked about this once before, is because in the big projects, there's a lot of long lead times. Like I just said, they're waiting on some wall. They can't open their store because there's a long lead time, so that's why you have to make sure you kind of can make decisions as best you can, as fast as you can, because it drags stuff out. The last thing you want is, you know, Federal or Corbin or one of those things to be under construction, or Palmer to be under construction for an extra year or two.
Steve, I got a question for you. If we see 830G application that comes through here, how much leeway, you know, you back up, you said, you don't think a project's gotten through here that hasn't gotten a favorable report, the ARB. If at 830G, if we don't like the look design of it, and we pass it on to you guys, how much leeway do you guys have to support that or not? You know, I feel like our hands are tied a bit.
Well, see, I think there's been multiple 830G projects approved in town.
Right.
77 Leroy is one of them.
Yep, right, by train
It's on the
station.
corner,
Mhm.
it's called Pemberton 16.
Yeah, that came through us, and they did some changes to it, but like, we were kind of hands are tied, like, this is what it is, so work with what this is kind of what was put to us with that
I mean,
one.
that was approved at least 5 years ago.
Right,
Sent you again.
but you get my point, the ARB, we couldn't do much to it, we could try to like pretty it up as much as possible and try to like push better materials, but like,
I think that was one of the things that I was interested to hear from you and have a little bit more of a dialogue about, which is, you know, you use the word massing. You know, we've been, you know, really lucky enough to have some significant developments come through here over the past few years. Most of them are great, but when you get that one that needs a little bit of help, you know, how do we best provide guidance to an applicant and recommendations to you regarding massing and height and square footage, because those regulations are under you, and where does that line get drawn, and, you know, how much guidance can we provide to say, well, you know, that street wall height we feel is too high the way it is, so maybe it's allowable by zoning, but is there a recommendation that we can make to say, we think you should break that up and have a setback, because, you know, that's just too high as is?
You can do two ways, because I thought about that question too, because I knew it was going to come up. You guys right now write a single report that goes most of the time to the applicant. What my idea was, you know, because I think about this stuff all the time, is you guys write two reports. One is to them, and then a letter of recommendations to P&Z. ARB used to do that all the time. Not planning zone, the Public Works does it. We get a memo from those guys that say, make sure you watch for this, and this, and you take it out and go, okay, did you do what he said? And they go, nah, we don't want to do it. Oh, okay, guess what? You got to do it. Like, okay. So if there's something that you guys pick up that you think is really important, and it's under our jurisdiction, it's within our guidelines, you can definitely do it. Because relative to, and it's a long time ago, and I don't know who was on the board at the time, and I was down on P&Z at the time, but 77 Leroy, at the beginning when they built that thing, and it got approved, there was like zero landscaping. If you go by there now, there's lattice work that covers the parking garage. When they first built it, it wasn't there. None of that stuff was there. And it wasn't approved with it. And that applicant at the time, which not the developer, was the applicant, they, you know, it went to court a whole bunch of times, and they stripped it down. I said, we don't have to do it, we don't have to do it. And you could look in there, and you could see the cars. You know, and it looked stupid. You know, then that guy sold it to another guy, and I think that guy put in the lattice work. Then I think it sold again, and then they put in more landscaping, and then it sold again, I think on Friday. So it may change again. That is a mass building. That's just a square box with a bunch of windows. But the only thing that I think I prettied up was like the front entrance and the front gate and all of that stuff. But if you say, you know, this is, I mean, it's somebody's secret, and it's been on the front page of the papers, on the 3 parklands. They showed the building that you guys approved, which is, I think, is beautiful. And I think I read one of your reports, they did a great job, it's really pretty, it's really nice. And they said, okay, this is our alternate plan. And it looks like a square box. You know, so that may land up, quote unquote, on our desk or my desk one day, I don't know. I hope it doesn't.
We haven't seen that alternate plan, right? That's his.
No, it was in the front
that's
page
his
of the
possible
paper,
layout.
it was like this, you know?
Right,
like this.
right.
You know, it might be upstairs, it might be in
Right.
somebody's house, it might be somewhere, you know, I don't know. But if there's something, you can say, I mean, to separate the first floor and the second floor, you can say, and I don't know all the words, like, you know, you can put mullions or spandrels, so it separates it. You know, when you step it back a little bit, then it's a setback, and it's not really a setback, but that changed your construction costs. So on an 830G, if you did that over at 77 Leroy, they would have gone ballistic, you know?
Yeah, it's certainly a balance, and I think, you know, we all agree, we try to be mindful of,
Sure.
you know, putting ourselves in the developer's shoes as well. So it's a balance of making recommendations that are reasonable, to come to a compromise that, you know, we still feel the design is acceptable. But that's good to know that, you know, not to put more work potentially.
I know, that's what I was literally saying right there, I was like, more
I
work,
did.
more work.
That's your kid.
Literally was thinking, you know, I was thinking, I was like, Hervé, thank God we got her, I was like, Hervé's gonna draft up something here.
No, but I mean,
guess
You can write the notes.
if you're the
once.
authority of the
You just copy
jurisdiction,
it.
though, I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to in terms of the interpretation of the codes.
right.
But when you are faced with something that's kind of mandated by the state, like the 830G example, is aesthetics aside, you know, what sort of authority do you have on that?
There's some and there's not. It really comes down to the applicant. I mean, I don't know if you know, but Avalon's an 830G project.
I did not know that.
It's a beautiful building.
The rents don't seem to be 830G.
It's, I mean, that's an 830G project.
Interesting.
Um,
But you could argue that that was done with a lot of sensitivity to the scale of the buildings. You know, if that was presented as an 830G, I would have no exception to it.
830G is not a bad letter word.
No, it's not, and I would actually welcome more of them because I think it's something that's needed. But at the same time, when it's thrown out there as like, you know, a threat,
Right. That's
it's,
not right.
that becomes contentious.
Yes. Well, I think we're just sensitive because if we don't like how a building looks or the specific architecture of something because it's ugly, we can't have developers continue to come in here and say, hey, if you don't like this, then it's gonna be 830G and I'm just
Well,
gonna
watch
approve.
the tape.
Yeah.
If the guy ever comes in front of P&Z, he'll tell if he talks to ARB again, you know. We'll put him back around. I'm dead serious. I mean, there's guidelines and, you know, we subscribe to every single guideline, but the way that the language came out, you know, to me, that's unacceptable. I just don't think it's professional. But, you know, I'm working on one, it's an 830G project now in Fairfield. I think it's 131 Beach Road. The architectural plans I saw there were pretty nice. The guy says he's a successful 830G guy. I've never heard of him before, but it's what I do for work. The building looks nice. It's really, if you've ever been out Beach Road in Fairfield, it's a nice street. But again, he was held up in court for a long time. You know, there's some, David Genovese's Academy Street is not an 830G project, but that was an affordable project. That's where they put in the money into the Darien Affordable Housing Trust Fund. That was where the money came from for that. That's a beautiful building.
Right, yeah.
You know, so it's a catch-22. The other one that I think turned out nice at the end is Old Ellen O'Neill, now called the Heights. You know, that's even further on the other end of the spectrum. That's 100% affordable. You know, that building turned out really nice.
You know, affordable housing can be done sensitively
Oh, yeah.
to scale with the community in mind. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's making sure that the applicants that are coming here understand that that's a priority for us.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we're looking at, to make sure that there's a balance. So it's nice to know that we'll have support from you and we're
I
tag team
said
on
at the
it.
beginning, the conclusion at the beginning is there's nothing that has ever been passed by P&Z in my understanding for the last 12 years that has not been pre-approved by ARB. So that, it's not like, you know,
That's great.
I think there's, I mean, every once in a while, I joke around with Liz, and I'm like, oh, you know, you did something, I'm like, don't worry about ARB, they're fine. You know, you just do, I've been on the Christians a long time, they go, oh, don't worry about it, they're just advisory. Like, oh, great, we don't have to listen to them. I said, I didn't say that. You know.
Well, I think it's perceived sometimes, right? Oh, they don't need, they're just advising, they don't have as much, they don't hold as much weight, but.
Well, it's where Steve and I fight, because when we have an hour-long discussion here of an application and it goes to P&Z, I said, if you blow off us after that, I'm gonna kill you, man. Like, you gotta support us. We got a very professional panel here of people, every one of these guys, and we won't go there, but they've got resumes that blow me away. So I think when they finally when we finally have a resolution, it's worth listening to. So I appreciate, you always do. I love that we can banter about it.
I mean, but stuff like traffic and parking and all that stuff, you can change even like landscaping for parking. I know the light fixtures inside Federal was not liked at certain points in time by certain people. You know, I don't really have an opinion on it, to be honest with you. You know,
The Federal bollards, let's not talk about that.
You know,
It's a weak spot. It's still a weak spot. It hurts.
you know, shining lights on buildings, some people like it, some people don't. You know, I don't know, but lighting design, 90% of the time, either on all commercial projects, we pretty much see them. And even some, you know, big houses, I'll say, on like the Long Neck Points and the Pear Tree Points and the Juniper Roads, we see the lighting design in advance and we'll ask for it. We had a little bit of an issue in my mind for the HSBC, what's the name of the chicken store, what do they call it?
Yeah, hot chicken.
Hot chicken, is that what it is?
No, I don't know. I'm just thinking of hot chicken.
Because they don't say that. But you guys, either they put on or you guys recommend or something lighting on the backside. And I'm sensitive to the neighbors because I don't know if the lighting was in the soffits or it was on the ground. So if it's in the soffits and the wall, the fence in the back is 6 feet high or 8 feet high, and the soffit is 12 feet high, if I'm sitting in the house there, I'm staring at light shining down. You know, that's the part I said, you really need those lights. And I think they might have been on the ballard sites, and they said, well, that's what ARB
I
wanted.
think we suggested that, by the way, with also 8-foot evergreen trees
Yeah.
to start.
Because I think we
To block
got,
that and then up.
I mean, and we added, I think, another 6 or 8 trees on the backside.
Oh, nice.
You know, so the fence went from 6 feet to 8 feet, and then I think the trees went from 5 trees to like 16 trees. You know, we have people add trees all the time. I mean, you're talking about expense and stuff like that. A tree, you know, I don't know if they've done it at their house, they're not cheap. And when you start saying, oh, we want 16-foot trees on day one that grow a foot a year, you know, and we want 10 of them, it's, you know, a lot of people say, sure, no problem, but it's not. Yeah, that's a lot of nickels. But we also, you know, in terms of like a Federal or a Palmer's or a Corbin district, the underground sewer and the underground water retention, all that stuff was just millions of dollars. You know, and that's just, we don't design it, but it's gotta work. I mean, everybody knows the town floods. I mean, part of what he was just talking about now was that his jewel box, it's actually, I think, 5 feet in the air, because the flood zone's 4 feet, and you have to be a foot above it. So when he's at grade and you're standing on the sidewalk, you know, you're 5 feet in the air, and the driveway goes up. And the sole reason why that starts at that height is because of the flood zone. You know, and we really can't help Sanders Cleaners, which is on the left, but you can help Valvalas because they also own Valvalas. They own that one and the next one. So when that flooded, I said, "What are you calling me for? Call your landlord." You know, it's not something to them. But I mean, I love working with Liz and love, you know, what you guys do, because you take a lot of work off of our shoulders. And at the end of the day, you know, what the thing looks at the end, I mean, people look at the roof line, they look at this. You know, that's the stuff that you guys do. If you want to change the roof from gray to black, black to gray, great. It's, you know, because I think it's more good.
Okay, good. I love it.
Okay.
Thanks, Steve.
Anything else?
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, really
I'm
appreciate it.
supposed to pick up at 8 o'clock and it's 7:59.
Perfect, I love that. All right,
Thank
really
you for
appreciate you coming by,
inviting me.
Steve.
What's that?
I really appreciate you coming by. It's
Anytime.
good for the
Thanks
face,
for
the face
inviting
with the
me.
name.
Glad to meet everybody. Reach out to me. Liz is gonna let me know.
You might get some memos, I guess, now.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
All right, guys, we've got ARB number 25 from Federal Realty here. It's a Federal Realty on Pretty Heights Road, the modifications. I don't think they are here to speak about it.
So I have, do you want to pass this along? I talked to Patrick McLean, he sent you an email, he had an emergency in his in-law family, unfortunately.
Yep.
And so I told him, I said, well, maybe I can represent you in that, since that you have the documents, it's a change of color of the paint of the Conair
Yep.
storefront. So here's what he said. Federal Realty feels strongly that the color change will have the following positive effect on the overall project. Number one, the village scale. The variation in color will break down the scale of the building, both horizontally and vertically, thereby providing a more warm village character that breaks up the austerity of one long expanse of white. Point number two, the enhanced vibrancy. This retail space is flanked by retailers with white storefront. The blue color should not only enhance the vibrancy of this space, but also the contrasting color will accentuate the adjacent space as well. And point number three is the expression of the brand. The color is a much more creative and subtle way of allowing the tenant to express his brand. They, right now they have a do not disclose agreement to say who the tenant will be, but the blue that they pick is in relationship to the brand of the tenant. So a little later we'll have Combine Training, who also has colors in their brand that we can talk about. So this is a little in parallel, and you know, if this is okay with you in terms of color change, that's up for discussion.
I don't mind it, actually. And my only comment is, and I know I brought this up when we were originally looking at how each time they can customize their storefront, is that we're looking at sort of nice variety of colors in the storefront along the base here. I would be concerned about them coming back with additional awnings and tchotchkes that they're gonna want on the storefront in addition to all the color.
Right.
Which was my concern to begin with, having all that variety, just creating my.
How blue is this blue? Is it?
Wow.
That's I think the hard.
The deep blue.
I actually don't think it's gonna look so bad. It doesn't look like it looks like a.
That's a little more green than it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. I think.
And it was in their Federal's
Original palette.
original palette. Okay.
Yeah.
This isn't like a
It's
red
okay, we've
that
approved the
never seen
palette,
before.
yeah.
Okay.
And to your point, if they do come back, the future tenants, they do come back with whatever tchotchkes or designs, we're gonna see that. We're gonna see it all in tandem. Now we're gonna see it next to Sweet Green, next to Van Luden, and we're gonna be able to decide how that, the door, you know, the hang over the door, or
Yeah.
I
whatever.
think they call them the accessories, or
Yeah.
rather than tchotchkes.
Sorry.
I like tchotchkes.
I like tchotchkes.
It's my New York word. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no exception to that change.
Something I was hoping
The one thing I would say though is, like, while they're highlighting the base, they've muted out the upper floors. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of interaction between the color at the base and what's happening above. From what I can tell, I don't think there's any, disparity.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a clash.
Yeah.
I think as long as the color of the base works with something in plan above. I mean,
Yeah.
if you started having colors shifting with, not lining up with recesses above, then it would be like really. But in this case, it's, it relates to.
If I recall, they had put together all these color palettes for the storefronts, knowing that they could get moved around in the entire complex. So in theory, any one of them would have worked with the pink colors above on the resi part, in theory.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's a big point, not having the relationship between the upper colors. It's a tremendous point.
Do you not see that?
And we don't know, do we? I mean, is this gonna be gray here and the red on
Those
the?
are brick.
It's
I know, it's gonna be,
It's like a
it's
beige.
gonna be a little bit circusy, I think.
I think the upper facades are like the gable and then that
Yeah.
portion above the changed
all
facade,
color.
that's all one
You've
color.
got 2 floors and a lot of windows, and it's gonna be a different color from the
This
base.
photo unfortunately.
But they're all
doesn't
different
have
colors, the base is all different colors.
I know, but wouldn't you wanna relate it somehow or other, just to go to
You talked about it at the beginning, like some of the
I know.
storefronts in the bottom should be the same
I
as
know.
top, and I agreed, but we went away from that.
Well, I guess I can't stop it, I think it bothers me a lot. It's too circusy, too much color jumping around. It should relate to the color on the storefront somewhat. And no one else agrees, so that's all right.
I just bring up
I've given up.
a point.
This one.
I think in this case, from my standpoint, because there is a larger facade above, that's all one palette.
Yeah, but sometimes they're not, you know, you
Yeah.
have very definite
I mean,
buildings.
I drive by them every single day, multiple times a day.
Mhm.
These things are huge. You're never even gonna notice the apartments above. That's how tall they are. I mean, they are massive. The storefronts are massive. The building is massive. It's really close to other buildings. You're just like, maybe when you're driving right by, you might see, but then this is kind of tucked in with the plantings.
10 feet
And then
up
when
in
you're
the air
walking,
to see
when you're
it.
walking in front of it, it's
Totally.
just, you're not gonna
16.
be, you're too close to the buildings, you're not gonna notice. So I'm not that worried about this.
Well, it still should be.
The breakup.
Keep in mind that big fascia that comes
Yeah, I was
across,
gonna
the
say
scale
that.
is gonna come down. I mean, this happens all the
That's why
time in
they have the
building.
vacation.
The scale, as you're watching it go up, changes.
It changes, yeah.
Mm.
I think the only concern I would have is if it was going to be like super, very bright blue, but even
I
then.
don't, well, if
We've
the palette
looked at
has
the
come
samples.
across.
No, I don't think this, I think this is a new palette. I think this
You
palette
think
number
five's
5.
introduced?
Was it?
I don't know.
I don't know, I'm too new. Sorry.
Is this the new one or the old one?
Nothing else
The one
I've
that's
seen
here,
is
isn't
blue.
that the old one too?
And I didn't bring my.
I guess if there was a rep from, do you have anything previous, like on the palettes?
Do,
I
actually.
always remember.
Yeah, was it just 4 or was it always?
Always bring your stuff with us, the old stuff.
Yeah,
Good for you.
There you go.
there they are.
Did they just make it?
Right here.
4 pallets, a new palette.
It's a new palette.
Ah, good catch, girl.
Sneaky.
Sneaky. You're right, everything was neutral.
Everything's new, everything was neutral and this is gonna be blue. Not that I think that's a bad thing, but I haven't seen it and it says
It's a
afterward,
new
and
palette.
that can be like, I mean, that could be Greek blue. I mean,
That's
that
what
could
we
be, if that's perfect.
They can't be
Like,
that
you know,
sneaky.
like if that's that blue, like, then maybe.
Then we just go
All right,
down and.
so they need to come back, they need to come back and show us this in person and bring
Yeah,
it.
it's larger
Like,
issue.
bring
Like,
the
if
sample.
you're
Person,
gonna
yeah.
introduce new color.
Right.
This
Okay.
comes back to my
Oh my goodness.
concern about like the visual cacophony. I mean, nobody's sort of looking at the big picture here before allowing the tenant to do their thing.
Did you all notice on these drawings, and this is what I was telling the rest of you, that I didn't really pick up on it, I only saw it in the large elevation. The door or fixed order window
For
for
sweet green.
sweet green
Yeah.
looks like it's in the same kind of
I thought that too.
darkish blue,
It
whatever.
did
Oh,
green.
it's green.
It's green, it's the sweet
It was
green.
green, it was green.
Well, it looks like the
So
building
now
next
you have
to
a
it.
yellow,
I'm
a green, and a
suspect.
blue?
It's very bad.
But it's gonna be a different color, yeah, it
The
won't
sweet
match
green
like
green
that.
is like also, it's not this is why I kind of, when pushing for the
Yeah.
sample, it's not this green, I know sweet green
Yeah,
very
right,
well,
right.
it's green, it's not
true green.
hunter.
Yeah,
It's,
very
Yeah.
like, it's
I
very
don't
green.
think Kelly print always comes out wrong.
Yeah, it's
Even
Kelly,
closer to
maybe
that,
not a
like,
Kelly, but it's
yeah.
closer to Kelly than this.
But I don't think that they can introduce their own palette.
Yeah, alright, yeah.
That's not
Not without a
coloring in
sample.
the
Yeah.
lines.
Alright, so they need to come here and present. So can you ask them to, I'll write that note, but to come in, they need to come in, bring in the palette, bring in their, how they wanna introduce this palette, where else they wanna bring it into.
I'm not saying no to blue.
And also, we need to see, the second story is not posted anymore.
Yeah, I think it needs
Yeah.
to be all.
The second, third story, yeah,
The whole thing needs to be rendered.
okay. Okay, so not approved.
Without a sample.
Are the other samples still upstairs? I know they've been up there for a while.
Of the other 4 pallets?
Yeah,
I'm sure they will. They're probably, all right. Everybody, you probably have the Federalty samples somewhere up there,
I
right?
don't know where, but I would look for them.
Okay, great. We're gonna move on then. We'll see them maybe next meeting.
I'll let Patrick.
M&T Bank, ARB number 26, 72 Egerton Road. You waited a long time.
I am very patient.
Thank you so much. Well, now you kind of know how our board works.
Yeah, I have been here many, many years ago for, I want to say Bertucci's.
Oh, yeah.
That was painful. That was 10 years
Wow.
ago.
My husband went on one of his first dates at Bertucci's when he was like 15.
There you go, yeah.
A lot of memories. So is mine. Don't bring Bertucci's again around me.
Right, exactly. So I'm Tracy Becker from Sign Pro, 60 Westfield Drive in Plantsville. We are tasked with helping M&T Bank redo all of the People's United Bank locations, 160 of them in Connecticut. So I am here before you tonight for the Norton Heights location at 72 Edgerton Street. I will see you next month for Old Kings Highway, since I did not get landlord approval in time for this month. So for this package, it's a standalone building. We would like, or M&T, I should say, would like to change the 2 panels that currently say People's United Bank to blank green and gold panels, which is their color scheme, as I'm throwing these out here for you. And then they would like to add an illuminated sign over the window area on the front of the building. They think it'll tie the building together a little bit better to kind of highlight the entrance. And then the 24-hour banking sign that's currently there is going to change to a smaller welcome sign.
And how late is the light on for? Because if you're across the street are residents.
The bank is not open past, I think, 7 p.m. at the latest. We certainly put signs like these on timers, so if you have a specific time that you need them turned off, that is certainly, we're open to that suggestion. I would imagine the welcome sign over the door, because that's the entry to the ATM vestibule, I would imagine that would probably stay on most of the night, but it is, those letters and the welcome sign are only about 4 inches tall, so, and the letters are the only piece of that sign that illuminate.
Yeah, the welcome sign doesn't concern me as much as the M&T sign being put over the storefront glass. I'm a little concerned about that.
Over the storefront?
Yeah, it's, I think this gets into what we were just talking about with the kitchen and bath. It's,
Coming across the glass.
Right, covering the glass.
Yeah.
Is there any reason why you're not replacing sign in kind with sign at the corner?
That's a very good question. I have had many conversations with them over many, many weeks and months now. And I did get, as of course while I was driving here, so I don't have anything printed to show you. They did give me an alternate option of, the first option is to, instead of replacing the side panels with the green and gold panels, to replace those with a color that matches the building, and then just have the sign over the front glass. And then the alternate option, which I think is probably their best bet, I'll be honest with you, is to replace like for like.
Yeah.
So a non-illuminated panel on both the front and the side where those panels are, and no sign over the windows.
Yeah, that to me was my gut reaction, like, why are we adding more signs? And if we're taking the letters away from that corner piece, would that still be considered signage, because it's now a branded color that's
Right.
pretty prominent?
Right.
Right.
It's not just, a little,
Yeah.
Actually, there's
accent and
something in the zoning regulation that you're touching upon, is that you can have a part of a building, or even if it's illuminated, that can be construed as being part of a sign even without any lettering.
Yeah.
So when
Okay.
you're using the brand colors
yeah,
on a surface, you're actually advertising.
Right,
So that would be considered.
So that would be considered
too much-
signage.
That would be then too much signage.
then too much signage, right? Okay,
I like spacing it, I think if they want illumination, I think I'm okay with illumination, just illuminate it where it is.
On the corner.
Yeah, on the corner.
Yeah.
Can we get rid of the welcome sign?
I would
It
love that.
seems a little redundant.
Yeah, absolutely. Good catch.
Well, yeah,
Well,
but what is it, it's replacing 24 hours?
it's replacing the
It's
24-hour banking, and I think it's really there,
And it's
just to
about
offer a little bit
doors.
of light over the entry, because that is the ATM vestibule.
I thought the 18 vestibule was around the side.
No, it looks like it's right here.
No, it's, I go to this
Yeah,
benchmark.
24 hours.
I thought it was right
That's
here.
the
I know,
best.
that's the
Exactly.
I don't go there as much anymore.
It's small, but I think it's, again, we have 24-hour banking on that whole thing.
Yeah.
Now, okay, this is just an opinion, architectural opinion. I know this is not a Pritzker Price architecture, but the sign smack against the glass clashes in one way to me visually. Like, I mean, I know it's important because it's right there in the middle of the building, but there is a reason People's United Bank sign was off to the side, because then the glass could live nicely, and then a 24-hour banking makes sense.
Mhm.
To put the sign right in front of the glass just bothers me a little bit. I don't know if that's-
Yeah, I don't
I think we're all.
Okay, good.
We're on
Yeah.
agreement on that.
Yeah.
By the way, go back to the welcome thing. I don't like that at all, saying welcome. We don't do that on our stuff. I think that should be like, if you're gonna do something there, I want it removed, or personally, I'd like to see it removed, or if it needs to stay there, the address, like 531 Edgerton Road or something, but writing welcome. Like, you never, why, I don't understand why we're saying okay
Or
with
you
that.
can say massage.
Too soon.
I'm sorry.
But the interior, the ATM section would be lit at night anyway.
Correct.
So,
Yeah, I don't understand why,
It's kind of like a beacon anyway.
yeah, I don't think we need to say,
Enter here.
yeah, well,
Dave Riley, you go it all the time. I don't understand why we need that.
Right,
sign.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I never even acknowledged the 24-hour banking. It's just like where you know where, that's where the ATM is.
I think just
But
attracts the
there's
building
some
stuff.
wayfinding, I'm sorry,
Sorry.
go ahead.
No, you go.
Something that's a wayfinding sign that would direct people who might not be familiar as much with it. You know, you have a little swiper that's on the lot, like where you can see in that photograph. Like if it was like just said ATM or something, or is that even necessary? But, you know, I kind of agree that welcome, replacing it with a welcome and 24-hour banking just on its own, is it really necessary?
Well, you have this very nice contemporary architecture that's kind of broken by this
Yeah. It's kind
sign
of
over the door. It
bumped
takes away
on
from
there.
the glazing,
Yeah.
you know, the uninterrupted glazing.
Mhm.
Those are my 2 cents.
So the welcome sign is about a third the size of the sign that's currently there.
Right.
Yes, you're taking around the
Just a
sign
little
that's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my recommendation is no sign there. I don't know, anyone else support
yeah,
that?
agreed. And then move their sign to where the People's Republic thing sign was
Yeah.
on the corner.
So sign for
Even
sign,
with
Marxist.
sign for sign. But you would, but illuminated, I think we're okay with illuminated,
Okay.
right? But how is it being illuminated? Can you reiterate that? Is it box, internal box?
So the sign that they're proposing over the glass is a flex face, which is why I brought this. So it's a fabric face, illuminated internally with LEDs.
Okay.
I think if we go with those side panels,
Yeah.
those are not illuminated right now, I believe. So I would imagine it would be,
You don't have the answer right now. How about
I
you?
don't have the
You don't have to answer, but feel the
Right.
pressure to. If you don't, can you, let's say, we'd like you to move to the side panels. We're okay with being illuminated, but you need to send the specs to Hervé.
Yeah.
And he'll run them by us to make sure we're okay with it. But
Alright,
some-
like I said, I'll be back next month too.
Oh, perfect. You know what? Bring them back next
Highway,
month.
so I can bring it back.
Can you, we'll put them together.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
But we tend to support the internal illumination where the you know, something more modest.
Right.
That's all that's allowed with that new sign regulation,
Oh,
is
even
from
better.
within.
Okay.
Within
Right.
or at the back of the letters, or from within the panel,
Yeah.
but there's no more.
So like a halo illumination or
I'll show
inter.
you
So-
thing that I'm writing for all this signage with neon that's gonna be enforced.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
Typically, when we do something like that, it would just be the letters that would illuminate. I mean, this box sign that they're showing here is, I think it's a little too much, especially for Darien. I have been here before, like I said. So I think the panels with just the lettering illuminating is probably, fits better into the town. So I can certainly come back with that next month.
I love it.
Great.
And then
Okay.
I'll remove the sign above the door.
And remove the sign above the door. Yep.
Right. I think it'll make the building look stronger.
To your point though about the address, I think there,
Yes.
the address isn't represented, is it, on the, over the door, so I'll do the Sean Brown thing and say, need an address.
Yeah,
Yeah.
an address on the door, that's a good call.
So would you rather that sign say 72 Edgerton Street?
No.
No.
But an
Okay.
address somewhere.
Okay.
I would put it on the adjacent wall going in, I mean, although that's not
I don't
visible
think
from the
you're
street,
gonna see
maybe we
that.
should just go on the doors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So just like a vinyl
Yep.
72?
Yep.
Okay. That's simple enough. It doesn't look like there's any People's United Bank vinyl on there now. Is there a limitation for vinyl in Darien?
25% or less. So you'll be-
Okay,
you'll
so
be-
typically they would have a white M&T Bank vinyl on for surface,
Okay,
so nothing drastic,
okay.
but
Can you send a picture of what that will be?
I certainly will.
Bring it back with you?
I'll bring it back.
All right, great.
I'll even bring a sample of the door vinyl itself. How about that?
That's a much better green than this green on the color copies.
Right, and so this is the actual color. I actually ripped this off one that was, it was an inch too short, so I said, we're not throwing that out, we're gonna be cutting that up for samples. So if you want me to leave part of it with you, I certainly can. I mean, these are the colors of the bank.
Yeah, no, that's
Um,
good.
You want me to dump it or would you?
No, we're good.
bring it back?
Bring it back.
Just bring it back next month.
time.
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you.
All right,
Cool.
great, thank you. You're very welcome. I will see you next month.
Great, thank you
Enjoy
so
summer.
much, Tracy.
You too.
Okay. Salvatore Architects, ARB number 27/2022, 815 Boston Post Road.
Hi, my name is Mary Burr. I am an architect. I'm a partner with Burr Salvatore Architects. We have an office above Starbucks, and we've been there for a year, almost exactly now. And we would like to hang a sign so that clients and visitors and delivery people know where we are. We are proposing a perpendicular blade sign, like you see here. You can see a view from the north if you're walking up the Post Road, and also from the south. It's 12 inches high by 20.6 inches wide. And then at the back, currently there are two signs from the previous tenant, which was the window company, and we would like to take those down, so it looks like this. And we would like to replace them with just one below this round window here. It'd be the same size, which is 12 by 18, but we would just turn it so that it's oriented horizontally. And it would say for Salvatore Architects, and then in small letters, reserved parking. Not that anyone will respect that, I don't think. For their watches, but it's worth a try.
Is the door, is that door also leads
Yeah,
upstairs?
they both lead up the
Okay.
stairs. Yeah.
Would the door have any signage on it?
No.
No.
What's the material of the sign in the back?
It's, they're both made out of PVC.
Oh.
We got a quote from Hungwell, so they would do a steel rod, and then their usual outdoor PVC material.
So it's not real, it's painted gold on the sign.
Gold,
Gold.
red, gold?
The red and gold, that's white.
Oh, that's white.
Oh,
White.
I thought it looked like gold in my thing too.
Oh,
Oh, gosh, wow.
No, just white,
Maybe I'm going color.
with this kind of orangey red.
Gold is a
Too many
business as
plans,
well.
too many
Yeah,
colors.
it looked like it, yeah, it looked like, yeah, it was gold and red. I was like, bling, very bling.
Oh, no, that's too flashy.
Okay. Great, great, okay.
I like it.
Yeah,
You have it?
Yeah.
Now, in the zoning regulation, the wall mounted directory sign, which is the one at the back, it says located next to the entry door. It's not a concern if, I haven't seen a picture as coming in from a car from an angle, but from the way it looks on your photo, it looks like the sign is a little bit far away from the door.
Here, let's see, the one on the back you're talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so if
So
you
it's
look,
not exactly right next to the door?
this is the door, this is the back door.
Yeah.
So we were just centering it under the window.
Is that door held open most of the time, and then that would be hiding the sign if the sign was behind an open door? Or is it, I know you're putting it under the window because it looks better right under the window. But is it clear enough to people that that sign represents entry through that door? Is there an arrow in the sign that helps?
There isn't, I mean, we can move it closer to the door, but I think you'll like it under the window.
Yeah, centered on the window. And would they go through that door, or would they
Most people
walk around?
It depends, you know, it depends on where they end up parking. People who've never been before often park in the back, and then they find the back door. Sometimes delivery people use the front, sometimes the back, it's pretty interchangeable. It depends on whether they're approaching by foot or car.
But they know that door's not labeled at all, to everybody's point, I see what you're saying, it's just a blank door, so people like, the first.
So the door doesn't say your name, the firm, second floor.
It doesn't right now, no.
Right? So the sign is just saying, okay, you're there, but do you know how to get there from that sign? Does it say second floor, or does it say turn right, or?
I mean, it doesn't. I was kind of just replacing what they had before in kind. If you want me to add second floor.
See, they had two signs that were kind of like sandwiching the door.
Well, we can do two. I thought it'd be more palatable to say that I'm reducing 2 to 1.
No, it's true, it says 1 per entrance.
Those are the parking signs. I just want to be clear really quickly. Those are just reserved parking signs. It's not
an entry sign.
It's not an entry sign, it's just a
Correct.
reserved
So
parking
this is
sign.
a directory entry sign that's different, which is why.
That one.
Oh, I mean, it just says reserved parking. I mean, I could
Oh,
do
is
it
it?
if you.
Those are the reserved parking. It's just
Oh, this is
reserved
I
parking.
was
one
just
reserved parking
replacing
space.
in kind, yeah. I know we had talked about doing the directory
Oh, it's not a
entry,
directory.
but then we talked about it when I got back to the office and
Ah,
we
okay, so
thought
that's
maybe
why I'm
this made
thinking,
more
sorry,
sense.
we did have a meeting.
Yeah.
So we talked about
You're
that.
remembering it correctly.
Okay, so I'm remembering directory sign, so this is a parking sign. All right, then it makes total sense there under the window.
Alright,
What is
Are
the
you-
lighting?
What is the what?
The lighting?
No lighting.
Okay.
No light, I mean, there is an existing light above the door here, but we're not lighting the sign in the
Okay.
front. Similarly, there's a light above the door, right here, but we're not lighting the sign itself.
Okay.
So I'm confused, it looks like you're putting 2 light signs at the front door.
Just one, you're seeing it, 2 views. You're seeing, you're
One.
walking you're walking up the post road towards Starbucks here, and you're walking, down the post road from the gas station, this one. Just one blade, but it's double-sided, so you can see it from both directions.
And it's perpendicular to Post Road? It's not-
Perpendicular to
okay,
Post Road,
okay.
yeah.
Alright.
And do we care if it's, so Starbucks has it on the, past the door, on the right-hand side of the door.
Yeah,
Do we care?
photos of
Because at
Starbucks.
some point, someone's gonna put it to the left-hand side and someone's gonna put it to the right.
like the left to the right of the door.
And then we're gonna have 2
Sign.
signs that are gonna cancel each other.
But isn't Starbucks sign over here?
Yes.
And they're putting their sign over here.
Right, but at some point, we need to have a pattern language.
People usually go to the right of the door.
To go to the right of the door, or the left.
But in this case, you can't go to the right of the door because you're at
So like
Starbucks.
down by the sugar bowl, or where Kirby and Company was,
Yeah.
so that we always say it goes to the
Oh, got
right
it,
of the
got it,
door.
okay,
So
got
that-
it, got it.
I agree, I love that point. I think you can't, the only reason you chose this location is because you went to the right of the door here. You're on Starbucks wall, right?
Yeah, it's also,
Oh, yeah, and that would be confusing, I think.
Yeah.
And we can't really do it above the door very easily because there's this light fixture. And we also thought it'd be a little funny to have it at an angle in relation to the Post Road. We thought we should
Yeah.
conform to
That's
the
more
other
consistent.
blade signs that
Yeah.
are perpendicular.
I think, yeah,
At an angle.
and it follows the pattern of the blade signs a little bit further down on down the street with the different storefronts.
Yeah. All right, good point. We might be kicking ourselves later, Leslie, we have to play time with it.
Could be allowed it.
Yeah. All right. It's great, thank you. Favorable report, it's a really nice presentation.
Awesome,
Welcome
thank you
to
so much.
town.
What kind of projects do you do, by the way? Are you residential or
We
commercial?
do
or
probably like 80% residential, especially right now.
here in town or Fairfield County or?
It's mostly Greenwich, New Canaan, and Darien. Yeah.
All right.
Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Well, when a spot opens on our board, I'll give you a call. Oh,
She has a list of the architects.
All right, ARB number 28. Final, but could be the best of the day, combined draining. At 24 Old Kings Highway Road. This is where the old Joyride was, behind Andrew Stefano's salon, and Good White Shopping Center there.
Correct, all the way down near the very end, Historical Society.
Right, which is pretty much founded by our friend here, our town historian.
Oh, great.
So.
Now a museum. It's no longer historical society.
Okay, my name is Adam Cohen from Santa Rosa, Stanford. Okay, I'm proposing for combine training, 25 Old Kings Highway and the Good Wife Shopping Center. Okay, taking place at the old Joyride. So pretty much what they're asking for is nothing more than Joyride had signage above the entranceway, a directional sign on the very end corner of the Good Wife Shopping Center, and there's a post directional sign in the grass there, right beyond the parking on the far left end. We're also proposing to paint the building. As you can see in this one here, I showed you what the old Joyride looked like here, and they're looking to modernize it and do a flat black paint, white accents.
The brick?
On the brick, yes.
It's not brick,
So
it's concrete blocks.
Is it? Okay.
That makes a big
Just-
difference.
Right.
A little bit.
As
Has it already been
turns
painted? I drove by there the other day, I thought it was already white.
So
Touche,
they,
touche.
What did you say?
they did get approval from UB Properties, and they assumed they could go ahead and do it. So they did.
So they went ahead and painted it,
They did.
but now they're coming back looking for approval of the paint.
Right.
So we have an actual picture of what it looks like painted now. That's in our back, so now, Hervé, you got that picture for us,
Yes,
right?
I
Including
took
that, I
those
appreciate
pictures.
that. So this is what now is actually there.
So you see the relationship to the rest of the building as you come up to the box, you want to call it a box. And then on the back, it's an alley, it's painted a yellow.
The back
So you can see the concrete blocks there. It's interesting how the brick stops a few feet short of actually like a foot and a half, or it's probably a couple of concrete blocks. And then the concrete block starts and wraps all the way around into the back. So to Adam's point, it's a box that they're using and using the black is it's part of their brand and the combine training sign.
You have the other
I have
side,
to
you
say,
can put black.
painted black is not nearly as intense as the image, so.
Yeah.
If this is all we got, I would have been very concerned.
Oh yeah, it's just a rendering. I apologize.
Yeah, I think, surprisingly, I think the black works.
Yeah.
I would have actually been so, yeah. I mean, I think you guys got kind of lucky, because it would have stunk if we didn't like it, but I think it actually helps delineate the building and give it some depth to an otherwise flat panel, and the fact that it was not brick. If it was brick, I'd be a little more bummed, but if it's cement block, it kind of works.
I would suggest painting the rails black as well.
Yeah.
What?
Because are they still
Everything
orange?
that's white.
They're doing them red.
They're doing them red.
Yeah, to unify with
To
the
pick up on the training
with the logo. Black, red, and white.
Right, railings.
The railing.
White
Railing.
trim.
What about the spouts, the white, are those spouts coming down? Can we paint those?
What, the downspouts?
Yeah.
They're flat on the building.
Yeah, I think they're just like relief.
Yeah, it's just,
Pieces
it's
on
actually
the-
Joyride had lines before, and they just grabbed the same lines.
Painted them
and just
white.
I painted them white.
changed their color.
They're just gonna toss this out and see what you guys think. I kind of like the idea of doing the white and black, doing everything in black, and then that way the combined training pops and it's not kind of a hodgepodge mishmash. I know that's like a blacked out building, and we have a lot of those in town, but I think trying to do I think the red and the white, and it's just a little dated, and I think it's a little bit more sophisticated and like a place that I would want to go work out more if it was all black. Like this to me, I'm like, all right, it's gonna be you know, a bunch of guys lifting weights.
It is.
But if it's black, I might be like, oh, maybe there's also a couple, you know, 40-something blondes that are also lifting a few weights, you know?
Yeah, well, it's better without the
It
red.
breaks up the building.
I think just having it as black and then having the white and red, I think it'll look sleeker and cooler and a little bit more chic.
So you're saying the handrail should be black?
I would do the handrails black and the white black. And I would just black it out, and then you have the combined training, and you see it there, and it looks
No white lines on the building?
No white lines on the building.
No, I don't think you need it.
I don't think you need it.
No, I'm just making sure Adam understands.
I don't think it does anything for the building.
No, it doesn't. If it
It makes actually.
Well, it doesn't
Much
continue
better.
any lines that are on the existing brick side, so.
Yeah, it's.
It kind of helps frame like the sign area a little bit. I feel like if it's all black, the sign, the letters will look lost and small on the building.
Yeah, I would say to that point, it's like maybe reduce the amount of white, just take just where the sign is in the entrance, that remains, it's like, it's white H, but the other portions of the facade
are black.
I mean,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So leave a white
Kind
of
edge in the center, is what you're saying?
Yeah, this is come here.
Maybe just in
It
the
emphasizes the entrance.
Maybe just in the middle.
Okay. I
Yeah,
like
right.
the white.
Maybe the middle.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just the middle panel around the sign. And not the other two.
What?
Unless it's too far out.
It's central.
Circus?
Circus.
Is that,
I think
if it
what
was
we're,
just central?
I think what we're
It's just,
recommending is to leave these two
Yeah.
white,
I just
right?
colored it in, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, it looks like
Okay.
Right, exactly, just the
Yeah.
central
Just
panel
the
to
central.
frame the
Just
sign.
like that. I mean, just a little bit more paint.
Okay.
So
And the handrails, you think,
Oh, black would be cool.
Black.
no?
I'm with you on that, but that could be personal preference.
that's all right. I think it'll look. Trust. I'm helping your company. I'm bringing people in to come my training.
You're speaking from your demographic.
I'm speaking to a demographic of like people who
Well,
you know
people want to have the white to
turn
come
40
into.
and to start working out.
It brings your eye to it, the white does. You have to have it around the entrance.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we're
I think
That's
that,
what we
yeah.
said.
So we said
Yeah,
white
no,
around the
I'm-
entrance. Yeah.
I'm supporting that. You have to have some white. Makes the black look blacker, and you have the white.
Ooh, expect Marion Costello as your first,
Your first
lady signing up.
I'm not knocking black. Is that what you said? Yeah.
So we're also gonna recommend paint the railing black. I mean, in the end, I mean, if your client really feels strongly against that, then shoot Hervé an email and he can email us, like, and I don't think anyone's gonna go to task here and say, yeah, it has to be black. Are we dead set it has to be black, or are we not gonna
just
do that?
recommend it.
It's just a
Just
recommendation.
recommending. Yeah.
It's just an idea, right? So if.
Okay.
so
For the handrails as well as the
The
sign?
handrail, yeah, handrail's black, white goalpost in the middle,
Okay.
white ends, other white
But the other
lines
ends
eliminated.
need to be black,
Yeah,
or is it recommended?
Well, then
recommended.
the
Yeah.
sign is white across the top, right?
The letters are white, yes.
White
and red.
letters are above the door and the goalposts.
Yeah, so we're
So we
keeping
can
it,
call
yeah.
it a goalpost.
And there's existing lighting above too, I think there's some.
Yes,
just
there
there.
are.
What's lighting on the
Hard to see
signing?
that.
What's the light signing?
It's this picture here, it's from Joyride, they're just two gooseneck lights.
Goose?
Yeah.
Yep, they basically are just like the rest of the Good Wife shopping center like these.
Yeah.
Now,
Then,
just,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, just to go back a little bit in history, I did a little research with the Joyride ZBA because they had a board of appeal approval. And I talked with Jeremy Ginsburg about this because it is a little tricky. A Joyride was approved very specifically for what they had. The sign inside the horizontal panel facing the parking is extremely similar to what they got approved. The difference is in the back where you have combine and the goalpost. They had an approval for another wall sign with some specific dimension of what they were doing. Now, I'm bringing this up for bringing it up, right? They even talked about the circle being, 25 3/4 inches in diameter. So they talked about exactly what this sign was going to be. Now, the variance from the Board of Appeal carries through with the land and with the building. So you have a variance that's standing for 2 wall signs instead of 1. The reason they approved this variance is because the building is completely invisible, and a wall sign above the front door without the extra wall sign at the arcade would make no sense.
Sure.
So now, I think this board needs to be aware that they're looking at a variation on, and that was in your file, the Joyride approval, on what Combine above the door of Combine says in terms of size of lettering.
Flip it back over for us. So that was a round sign above that door.
There had
They're
there was
proposing
like
that.
a little Target thing, and then
Yeah.
Joyride underneath was a lot smaller in terms of letters. I believe from what I read in the regulation that the ARB has the authority to modulate their approval in relationship to what is presenting if they think it's appropriate.
Yeah.
So the key that the bottom line there was in the ZBA ruling was that we approved 2 instead of 1 wall sign. And then they went into
The details.
the details. So the front statement is 2 in lieu of maximum 1 wall sign. And then they go into the description. So I just want to make sure that that point was clear for the board.
I like that. Yeah, because I thought about that, because I do think this is a better fit sign for this space above this door than what was there, Joyride's round.
Which do you prefer, the 14.8 inch or the 10-inch letter height option?
So the town regs, it says max letter height is 10 inch for most signs in parentheses. We have a fairly large sign area here, which is 14.5 feet in width, and 5.5 feet in height. So we feel like this kind of fits nicely in that spot there. Considering the size of the building, it's 80 feet in store frontage.
Actually, the regulation says, unless otherwise given a positive recommendation by the Architectural Review Board, the height of any letter, logo, symbol, or sign shall not exceed 20 inches in pedestrian-oriented business or 26 inches in automobile-oriented business.
Okay.
So we have some room.
So the 14.8 is allowed.
So then we're good.
So you don't have to go to 10. I don't know where you saw the 10,
I
but
saw the 10 in some area of the
some
sign
other,
regs.
some
Yeah,
other part of
10-inch
the
letters.
type
Yeah.
Okay.
for signs.
But
That is in the design guideline for additional provision for signs.
I love that. Let's not read that to any other clients, that would be.
Yeah. We don't
Thanks,
need-
Ray, for putting that on record. Boom.
But you look at the signs that
What was that,
John
20?
Vaccaro showed.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be too much. I
These
think
letters are pretty tall. I mean,
Yeah.
there are signs,
Right,
but the
right,
letters are a lot more than 10.
The logo.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
logo
Yeah.
itself. And
Well, the bigger option is 24.6 high in total, and that's, you could, I guess, potentially go to 26, which I think 24.6 is enough.
Yeah.
I think that's.
Yeah, I think this is great. You're not facing the road. You have a tucked in
the
space.
14-inch looks good to me.
This is fine.
So so we're saying we support the larger size versus the 10-inch.
Just
Thank
because
you
you
for
want
sharing
to-
that.
Okay.
Such a big.
But I gotta go back to that front sign. Yeah,
It could be a little bit smaller.
well, let's talk about this. You got a lot of arrows going on in that sign. I think, what if people are gonna think that red arrow is not directional, but part of your logo now? Because
Which one here?
those weights look like arrows to me.
Yeah, they're weights.
Yeah.
Right, and that sign, and then you got a red arrow that also matches, like, I don't know, did you guys, did they talk about that? Like,
That's to go around the corner.
Well, that arrow was there before.
Yeah.
This was there on Joyride.
but Joyride had different colors, so then it made a little more sense, but even Joyride kind of confused me.
I get what you're saying, the weights kind of look like arrows, it's funny, but that's the logo they provided, the
What
branded
if
logo.
like the weight on the left just became an arrow, like if it just kind of trailed out and then just kind of went straight, because that to me would direct me around the corner more than the
Than the-
right angle
the-
arrow. But I don't know.
Yeah,
Just a
like
reaction,
like
but
upstairs. Combined
Yeah, it
with
does
upstairs.
look like it's upstairs, yeah.
it could be kind of cool for it to morph into this arrow.
Well, maybe you don't even need the arrow. Like when people go there, obviously there's Stefano's on the corner. You obviously kind of look around and you'll see a black painted building now, and you're gonna see a 26-inch logo soon after. I don't know if you even need the arrow anymore.
I mean, it is far, it's,
That's,
so this is the corner
Yeah.
of Good
I
Wives.
think,
So you got there, you got almost 80 feet until you hit the black building,
Yeah.
so.
What do you guys think about using just that simple triangle on the other side, please? The one that he has for
Right.
the hanging sign, just
Oh,
on
yeah,
the
just do
left
that
there.
instead.
That
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, instead of the L-shaped
Instead of the
thing,
L-shaped,
Okay.
do the
simpler.
triangle on the other end of it.
Sure.
And that would make those two
Right.
That-
work
yeah.
together too.
Yep.
Okay.
That's
Doable.
That's a great idea.
That, by the way, that's also there's a blade sign, yeah, he's got a
Yeah.
mock-up. It's funny because that sign is in a funky location, it's got cars in front of it.
I
and you
know.
really,
Yeah, you
like,
don't see it right
you
away.
wonder why it's like a bad real estate sign, like, leftover. There used to be a for sale there.
It is, it looks like somebody put it, one of the directional sign for the three businesses on the side there, so.
Right, but it's.
Definitely should have been
it's
higher.
not in the right place, it's
Right.
just like.
Agreed.
Working with what you got.
Okay.
Alright.
So, oh, you wanted to
Just change
decide,
that
so you
hour,
pick
that'd be good. And then, does he just need to do a little revised, montage, or is this okay?
Can you send a final PDF of this sign, of the front-facing sign to us with the triangle arrow?
Sure.
Send a PDF copy to planning and zoning staff.
Okay.
And I think everything, oh, and ideally a new PDF of the outdoor rendering that would be mostly black.
Black handrails, black on the sides.
Yeah.
Just the H white.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be a recommendation.
Okay.
The letters are gonna be 20 inches, you said?
The letters.
14 and a half.
But the whole sign itself, I think, is like, did put 24
The
points.
letters, I'm saying, are 14,
Yeah, the whole thing,
Okay.
24 and a half,
Okay.
14, almost 15.
14, okay.
But that's the scale, what it's gonna look like in the sign area.
Cool, all right, thanks, I appreciate your presentation.
So just electronically, okay,
Yep.
perfect, thank you
And I'll
guys.
circulate.
All right.
Thanks for waiting, sorry,
you.
that's a long time to wait for that.
No sweat.
Appreciate it. Okay, guys, last thing is the approval of minutes from last meeting. I actually scrutinized it, I read this pretty carefully, particularly for 7 Sedgwick, because I wanted to make sure those were accurately written up. I don't know if you guys all had a chance to look at those. Alex wrote them. She's professional.
No,
She
I
paid
got
for this.
She did a fantastic job.
Yeah, that was a great, yes, that was
Wow.
a good write-up of what happened, I felt like.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Do you feel like you were at the meeting, Dave, from the write-up?
I
Did it
had
bring you
PTSD.
into the
You
moment?
really need to watch the video.
I do, and I'm very thankful I did not.
Oh my god, you weren't here, oh my
I
gosh.
was up, I was on vacation, so.
Good place to be.
They traded minutes, Dave and Alex.
Yes, oh my gosh.
As the British would say, the atmosphere was a bit combustible.
All right, then I'm going to adjourn the meeting, and it's 8:48 PM. Thank you guys.
Thank you.